Please introduce yourself and briefly summarize your education and professional background.
Hi, my name is Pusker Regmi. I'm a licensed professional engineer with PhD in environmental engineering. I also have a bachelor's degree in electrical engineering. And for the last 20 years of my career, I have been focused on process engineering and infrastructure when it comes to wastewater treatment.
All right, that's great. Can you now tell me about your role at Stantec and how you became involved in the Water Research Foundation, WRF project, focused on applying AI to wastewater treatment operations?
Yeah, so I am Vice President and North American wastewater sector leader. In this role, I focus on technical quality and also strategic direction of how we serve our wastewater utilities. So Stantec deals with wastewater utilities on a daily basis, designing wastewater treatment plants, with helping support like operations and asset management. And one of the things that we see time and again is the data side of things. The utilities are drowning in data, and they have, on the other side, the flip side, there are a lot of people who are retiring and taking the institutional knowledge with them, right? So AI obviously sounds like a good solution on the surface, but if you look around, the solutions that have been put forward in the market, they are not grounded in operational realities of the plant. Sometimes there are like chatbots, which are rebranded for utilities, right? So what we are trying to do with this particular project is to make something, AI first, grounded in the operational realities of the plant within the bounded, operational framework that works for the utilities. So that's what we are trying to do with this tailored collaboration with Water Research Foundation.
All right, that's a great background. And I think that today's talk, we're going to try and focus mostly on this new initiative. So could you please provide some background on this initiative, like its partners and the time frame that you're kind of working with and what it hopes to achieve?
Yeah, so this project is tailored collaboration, Water Research Foundation 5378. So this is going to be almost like a 3-year long project running into the end of 2028. Our partners primarily is EOS, who is providing the technical stack, the AI capability. And then we have the project is co-funded by WSSC Water, Prince William Water, and the Water Research Foundation, being this technical core team, right? And the way that we see the role of WSSC Water and Prince William is that they are the co-developers of this project. Right. So and that's how we are distributed. In terms of Stantec, we are providing the technical lead and the primary principal investigator for this project.
Okay, so you say it's 3 years and done in 28.
Mm-hmm.
Does that mean you're about a year in or so?
No, we have just started this project, in March. So we are first month in. We have already done the internal kickoff meetings, and we are working towards, doing some use case workshops with the utilities. So the first few months is going to be the foundational framing of what needs to be solved by using these capabilities, what are our bounded use cases, and what are the requirements in terms of data and the tools.
Okay, thanks. So you mentioned them, but they're the one I'm least familiar with. So before we get to Stantec, what is EOS, EAOS?
Yeah. So they are providing the AI capability for this project. Their role is significant in that regard. And Stantec is providing the technical know-how of the BNR process, the use case, and the utility context, right? So together, we feel like we have a very strong team to come up with the agentic harness and the foundation that is needed to, come up with AI solutions that the operators can trust and use on a daily basis. So their role is to provide that, technical framework around AI that is going to be critical for this project.
Okay, let me see if I got this straight. So EOS is they're the AI experts, and they're providing the modeling and then the technical expertise behind that. And Stantec is playing more of the role of of the engineering side and saying, hey, this is what we need. And how
Yeah.
does that fit with then the utilities that they're working with? Are they, I don't know if I want to use the word laboratories, or are they there to be the, I guess, the actual live use case of how this is all working?
Yeah, so they are definitely not just the laboratories. They have a much more prominent role in this project in terms of defining the use case, like what needs to be solved, right? Providing the right information in terms of different data sources, their operational context, and eventually they are the validators of the solution. So until this works for the operators at these utilities, this project does not achieve its objectives, right? So they are front and center, and I would even call them like the drivers for this project. So definitely not just test beds, laboratories. They are the main players of this project.
Okay, so the utilities are the ones telling you, hey, this is what we need, this is what we'd like to
Uh-huh.
accomplish. And then Stantec is working with EOS to help develop the technology, both from, just I guess the underlying AI technology as well as the engineering aspects of the technology. Is that correct?
Yes, exactly. And the other component that you need to think about here is the trust component. We are building trust. The main product of this project, if you think in those terms, is building trust between the agentic AI approach and the operators, right? So every one of us have a role to play in building that trust, using the operational, ground realities of the plant, the actual problems, our operators are trying to solve every day, and all of that, right? So it takes a village, obviously, and we are playing a very specific role. All of us are playing a very specific role in making this a reality.
Okay, so I've got some specific questions about some of the terminology and the specific things. But what would you say is the overall goal, since you mentioned it already? What are you guys trying to, in the end, achieve?
So at the end of the day, what we are trying to achieve is a agentic AI framework, that solves the problem of data fragmentation and institutional knowledge retention, right? Which is a huge problem in the industry at the moment. And we want to do that in a way that provides a deployment pathway for our sector, not just for these utilities, but for the overall wastewater sector. So that's the main goal. And the proof of this is going to be this agentic AI working on a daily basis for the operators in a delightful manner and helping them do their job, reduce cognitive load on the daily basis, and providing the right information at the right time, right? So that is the main objective of this project.
Okay, and so do you have any idea at this point, I know it's very early, what that might look like? And by delightful manner, do you mean just easy to use? Is that your definition of that?
It's not just easy to use. It's also like providing, if you are taking like 5 hours to get to the answer at the moment by looking at different data sources, different screens, now you have a tool that you can use, which is going to provide you the right information in much faster way so that the decisions that you are making on a daily basis is of high quality and it's faster. So that's the ultimate goal, right? So and that can only happen if we prove the foundation of AI, the transparency and traceability of the, how it works to the operators. Then only that vision will come to realization, right? So that's what we are working towards.
Okay, and so in doing some research, I saw the project says it introduces something called intelligent assets. And I think that's a term I've heard used for other things, but what does that mean in terms of what your initiative is describing an intelligent asset?
So the intelligent asset, like simply put, it's, the way that the equipments, exist in reality right now is information is all over the place. Somebody has the maintenance records, somebody has SOP, somebody has a operational experience, right? But it's not centralized, and it doesn't become institutional knowledge that is retained. So an intelligent asset is a piece of equipment, you can think of in those terms, which is aware of its own operational context. And it is not dependent on a person a specific one person leaving the utility, right? So it stays with the utility, and that operational context become available for anybody who is operating in the long term.
Okay, so for the engineers and a little
Mhm.
clarification, what are some of these assets that you're talking of specifically, or that you want to be intelligent?
Yeah, so in terms of, a little bit of a focus of this project is biological nutrient removal. And if you think about, and I'm just going to give one example, if you have a blower system, the aeration system, right? You want that blower to be understood by any operator at any times. Its maintenance history, like how you operate at different conditions, what are the operational bounds, all of those things you want to understand, right? And so that then the idea here is to use like AI, so all that information becomes on the fingertips of an operator when they are dealing with that piece of equipment. And you can scale that. Now, that is a piece of equipment. Now we can take it to a BNR systems level where all of that information is stacked in a way that provides a overarching kind of understanding of the process, what needs to be done, and all the relevant information is surfaced in a traceable way for all the operators at any given point, right? So that's the idea with intelligent asset. It's retention of institutional knowledge, if I were to just say it in one word.
Okay, I think it's a nice clarification and a specific aspect of the system. So it's pretty clear to me that this is a project that's focused on water and wastewater in particular. Are you hoping that there will also be some benefits from this that can be passed on to other utilities in different industries, perhaps like electricity or power generation, something like that?
Yeah, so anything, if you think about the foundation of this project, I think it's applicable to any of the complex, highly regulated industries out there, right? Like the basics are very similar. So the things that we'll be doing around like the data, the governance, the harness that we talked about, which brings everything together, those are simply scalable and applicable to other industries as well. The AI does not care about the context so much, right? It cares about the sources of data, how they are structured. And I think other complex systems out there are also very similar to ours. One of the good things about like starting in wastewater is wastewater tends to be very complex, and it also tends to be highly variable, very challenging, right? Like daily basis, it's changing, with rain events and everything. It's never constant. So it's a good proving ground for scaling in other places, I feel like.
Okay, I think I might know the answer, but would this project have been started? Were you guys working with these partners regardless, or was the AI aspect that's around now what kind of spurred this whole thing to come together and for you guys to decide, hey, let's get this right with the AI? Did that lead to this project, or was it something that you're kind of working on anyways and said, you know what, maybe we should get this AI thing going too?
Yeah, to be honest, like the problem always existed, right? The data fragmentation, drowning in data, not being able to make a sense of overwhelming amount of data at utility. And on the other side, institutional knowledge retention gaps are very well known. So the problem was already there, before AI. I think the AI is providing us a pathway to a solution, a very practical solution for that. And so I really do think, the sense of urgency that we have in the industry around like AI and its potential and adopting that for our use cases also provides a sort of kind of a incentive to validate and come up with these approaches, right, validated approaches for the industry. So I think it's a perfect storm in that sense. The problem existed, the tools were getting more attractive, and our ability to collaborate and work together is a perfect storm, and that is the outcome. This project is the outcome of those things coming into play.
How about a little bit of expertise and advice sharing? So how have you been using AI? How do you feel that it's can be used and effective in the industry? And what's some advice you might give to other engineers out there before this project is finished on maybe how they can get started and they can, get their toes wet before they jump in and see what they can do?
Yeah, I think AI is a tremendous learning tool. It helps you learn a lot. It's a good aggregator of knowledge, right? And it can be a powerful collaboration tool if a lot of folks are using, with its full potential. So I think the key is to understand the limitation and the upside of AI. Limitation being, if you are not being context aware, or if you are not bounding it in a knowledge base, grounding it in the information that it needs to be, then it can give you, a sort of a generic answer, right? So how do you take that foundational model that is for everybody, which is very capable, but how do you make it useful for you in your context, right? So as long as we are working towards that, making it like more context aware for your specific use case and for your specific problem, AI capabilities are tremendous, and it should be used, and leveraged.
All right, thanks, Pusker. Now, do you have any particular concerns that you have about using AI, whether it's security or that you might not get the answers validated properly? Like, what are some of the fears or whatever that you're looking at that you want to make sure that don't come into the final process?
I think the two concerns that I have, if it's used like really blindly, is transparency and traceability. So if you do not know the source of the information, right, like you're simply rely on AI and you take it as a face value, that will eventually lead into unintended consequences, right? And the transparency element is, again, like if the AI is used, I think we all need to be transparent about its use and its kind of some of the limitations, right? So as long as we are bounding it with these, guardrails, and have an open communication, I think it's a tremendous tool that will find use more and more in every aspect of our lives.
Okay, could you describe a bit specifically how you would recommend like checking that the source information is correct, and how do you recommend specifically like showing that your transparency is there? What would that look like?
Yeah, so one of the approaches that we have taken for this project as well is something called like transparency around chain of thought. So how did like AI came up with the answer, right? So there is an answer, but you can look at the steps the AI took to get to the answer. So as long as you can see it, I think there is going to be a trust element. And the other thing will be citation of anything that it's saying, which is a hard number around the plant, right? So if it's making a statement around this is your limit, it has to cite a kind of a your limits that is provided by the regulators, right? So there needs to be a citation associated with some of these things. Citations with chain of thought, transparency, I think that is the key here.
Okay, so are you saying that if it does show up with a hard number, that's something that can be relatively easily fact check, and one way to check for the way it's working properly?
Yeah, again, like in quotation, citation of the document that it's pulling that information from is an easy way to do that. And it does that, like the way that we are setting it up, that's exactly how it will be done.
How does EOS, what is their background? What do they create their own AI technologies? Are they building off of other products that are out there?
Yeah, so they are not building their own model, or anything like that. There are a lot of models, foundational models from big labs that are available to us. But one of the core, kind of principles here that we are using with EOS is not, the plant data or the utilities data will not be retained, and it will not be used for like training any of the models, right? So the model itself is accessing the information in a bounded fashion, but there is no kind of going to the foundational layer. It stays within that harness, the localized context, and that's it, right? So that is the, pulling like all of this together and, making that harness with data sources and coming up with the system which reveals the information following a chain of thought. That's where EOS is providing a lot of value, and that is a unique thing about their system. And it's based on like water utilities, right? And solving the specific needs that we have.
Okay, I think that's going to be a very useful piece of information. That's a common concern that I hear about, and I think you answered that nicely. I really like how this conversation has been so kind of pointed on one particular topic, but without getting into a whole new topic, so I'm sure we could talk about it all day, is there anything along this topic that you feel that we've missed and that you want to make sure you get into the record before I stop recording?
Yes. So one of the things that, comes up when we are talking about AI is this discomfort around, like, will AI take some of the job functions that we have, and the one thing that I want to say, though, is a lot of our work, if you go into the wastewater treatment plant running, you see like operators like running around, trying to make sense of like overwhelming amount of data, not being able to do so. I think that the value that we are trying to create is reduction of this massive cognitive load and feeling of like always trying to catch up, right? So we are trying to solve the problem that exists. We are not trying to create a problem that needs to be solved with AI. We are trying to attack a problem that is very pervasive in our industry with AI, right? So I just want to clarify that we are here to augment and help like our operators who are doing a very difficult job on a daily basis. And with this project, I think we'll make a dent on that. This project and these type of projects, in my opinion, is going to shape how we talk about AI, how we adopt like AI in our industry. And I look forward to whoever is like listening here, reach out and connect on these very important topics for the future of our industry.